Hey guys, what's going on? It's Adam from Reactive Terrain. So today we are delving into a little top tip for tires. We're actually looking at the Jawbreaker, or the Bulldog Jawbreaker should I say. This is not out yet. It's kind of my prototype that I've been kind of just teasing a little bit of shots, but this thing has definitely yeah, we might have to make the course a little harder. Gonna make a few adjustments. I've been playing with it over the weekend and kind of adding a ton of weight on it, seeing if it performed any better, seeing if it did better climbs. Actually, it really didn't make much of a difference. We've changed the tires on it to some Swamp Kings and just a couple of other changes, just upgrading the basics just to see if any of that made any difference. The tires were kind of same. I have to say they didn't really kind of degrade the performance on it, but they didn't upgrade. And actually I just found these kind of just not spinning up as much, so I just stick with the pins. I think at one point I might even start trimming some of these pins off just to open the grips up. What we're going to do today is something I do on a regular basis, and I'm actually going to wash my tires. I'm going to show you what I do, because honestly it really does make a huge difference, especially if you're going to do comp or precision driving with these things. You definitely want to kind of not go into a competition with them dusty like this. This was put on the new course, it's not sealed yet, so there's a ton of dust. Our course has dirt, grit, definitely plays havoc with the grip. We noticed a few things happening over the weekend. The rig's stable at kind of its angle. It's not bouncing around, so it's nice and stable, but what's happening is the wheels are just spinning, and that's a traction problem. And yeah, we can kind of put a bit of weight on it to kind of build that traction, and hopefully that will cure it. But really, I think one of the biggest problems is the course is quite dusty, and that can get on the tires as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the wheels and take the tires off the rims, and then I'm going to show you my top secret, which isn't a secret, because honestly I've been doing this since I started in the hobby, when I started racing in the Kyosho, Spider Cup and stuff like that, or even using kind of buggies, doing that type of thing. I would always wash the tires, and this definitely, for a crawler perspective, makes the tires, I think, a little bit stickier than actually they come out the bag, and I think we can prove that today. All right, so that's the tires pulled. So I've got the comp pins from Endura. These are the 65 by 19s, very common in the community, very well liked, and they are good tires. They do struggle a little bit in certain areas at Reactive because of all our different compounds and materials that we use, different stones, man-made, natural. So there really isn't. Well, look, we did a massive tire shootout video for a bunch of tires under 60 millimeters. So I'll put a link in that. Check that out. It is long, but it is very comprehensive and really fun to do. And I think we're definitely going to do 60 pluses. I just got to build a collection up worthy of doing it. However, I do have a set of these Enduras. These are 60 mils. Yeah, 60 mils by 20 mils. A lot more pins on them compared to these ones. Oh, here we go. And so, yeah, we're going to, we did actually try a set of these. I have to say, wasn't wowed straight away, I have to say. They're nice. They're compound. Doesn't hold it together, but you can hear the stickiness. Now these actually have a bit of dust on them. Literally as soon as my hand opens, they're kind of folding out. You can hear the internal still sticky, so they're very similar compound, but it's not holding together. They're not staying stuck. So I'm going to wash a brand new tire, and I'm going to wash this tire in my top secret ingredient. It's not top secret. Let me show you what it is. Yeah, it's this stuff. Fairy Up. Well, Fairy Washing Liquid. Fairy Up Washing Liquid. I don't know why we call it Fairy Up. Was it ever called Fairy Up Washing Liquid? Who else called it that back in the 90s? But Fairy Liquid it's a premium product. So you can get obviously cheap washing up liquid, dishwasher detergent or whatever it's called. But I have to say, I've tried the budget stuff. I've tried the real cheap stuff. It does not work as good as this. In fact, it really is noticeably different. So what I do is I go and boil the kettle and I fill a bowl up with hot water, and then I'm going to take a good size splurt of Fairy Liquid, and we are going to massage it into the tyre and then drop it into the hot water. Now the hot water will also help reform the tyre back to its shape, and then we can let it cool down and test to see, well, did we just make it stickier or not? Alright guys, so please be careful if you're using boiling hot water, and I do recommend boiling the water. What you want to try and do is put a bit of life back in your tyre if it's slightly misshaped, is what we're trying to get rid of, and it will go back to normal. Alright, I am basically going to now dribble some, basically I do 2 rings of the tyre, and then I use my hands to massage it in. Now obviously if your tyres are really muddy, then I would recommend kind of washing them with a toothbrush first. This is only surface dust, so you know there's no real dirt on them other than kind of dust, and we're really kind of getting that in there. Then we're going to drop it in, and it should sink, which it does. Right, where did I put the new tyre? Right, so here is the new Enduro pin, and again we're going to take some bubbles. Anyway, I'm going to do, and yeah, get a good load on it, get it on there, and we're going to give it a good wash. Now, this is a brand new tyre out the pack, never been on a rig, and we're just going to massage this right in. And we're also going to dunk that in there. Yes, I do have asbestos fingers. Or no sense, no feeling. So I would probably leave them in the hot water for about 3 minutes. 2 or 3 minutes would be fine. You're just giving the rubber a chance to really warm up, and let the liquid do its job on the things. Now sometimes I'll take it out like I'm doing now, and I'm just moving them around, only because they're in quite a small bowl, so I'm just cooking both sides evenly for a better taste. I seem to have got washing up liquid everywhere. I'm going to clean that up. That should give us enough time to see where they're at, and then we're going to dry them off and see if it made any difference whatsoever. Okay, so the one thing you want to do is put them somewhere warm and leave them for a good few hours to dry out fully. You don't want to put them back together with any form of moisture in them. You know, leave them overnight if you can, on a radiator or anything like that. So this is a washed one, and that is a dirty one, and you can see how that's kind of it's all nice and reformed now. Even you can, I think you could just see the center had all stretched out, but it's all reformed back to normal now, and that's what the boiling bath does for it. It kind of just remolds that tire a little bit. Okay, so the one thing I always do when I wash new tires is that it gives you the true stickiness of them. Out the bag, they always seem really super sticky, and then after a while, well, they're not so sticky. Well, after washing them for the first time, before you use them, you'll get to know exactly what the compound is like
rather than the bag compound. And normally they're quite different. So this is out the bag. I didn't use these. I just washed them in hot soapy water, and no difference. In fact, I think they're actually not as sticky. So that gives me the true compound of this tyre now. Pin tyre, the one that we've been washing. It's actually almost holding itself together. So we've increased the stickiness of this tyre just by washing it in hot soapy water. Yeah, big difference of that. And these, yeah, you see, it's probably why they don't work as well as you think. They look good, they come out of the bag, you think, oh, they feel really good, and actually you wash them and you get rid of that kind of top coat, and suddenly the true compound is revealed. So yeah, you really do get to see what the tires are like by doing this process. It's not for everybody, I get it, but it does for me. I like to kind of do this. It gives me a good indication of what a tire's gonna be like before I even get it out on the course. Right, I've got a few more of these to do, and then I'm gonna put them back together. I might even treat you to one more tip.
All right, so the next tip I'm going to show you is something we do. Now, it's difficult to kind of promote stuff like this because this is LED flashing. We use this on roofs over in the UK. It's not the cheapest stuff to come across, and the amount we use, it wouldn't be worth buying a huge roll for. But if you do know any roofers, they're bound to have a few bits lying around that you could kind of nab and use. So printer's going 10 to the dozen, which is why it looks like there's an earthquake going on. Let me try and put a mat down. And I've actually ordered a set of brass inserts for the Enduro 1.3s, but they're not going to be here for a while. So I've got a load of these strips cut and made. So I'm just going to put a bit of lead strip inside the tire, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this. This is electrical fabric tape. I use this on actual classic cars and stuff like that to kind of tidy up the wiring loom and stuff like that. It's really cheap, but it's fabric and it's really good. It's got some great purposes for it. I use it on a lot of different projects, so I do have a little bit of that flying around as well. Now, the one thing I will say about doing this is that really be careful, because when trying to put your foam back in the tire, there might be a chance you split it, so you're gonna have to just take your time and be super careful. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tape, and I'm going to put a load of runs around, probably maybe 4 runs around this to hold the brass down, and I'm also going to show you what else that creates. The other thing I'd say, if you were going to do this, make sure you kind of get it nice and tight. Don't leave no baggy areas around it or anything like that. You want to get the ring as close as you possibly can to the wheel ring. All right, so I actually went around 3 times, just because that felt right. You can just feel it getting a bit thick. You don't want it thick. Basically what you're doing is just keeping the edges from cutting anything when you're putting your tires on. It keeps it nice and soft, and also this is in the middle of the tire, so what we've created is almost like a dome effect, and that's going to make a difference on the tire as well, because on your front tires it's going to create more of a dome effect like this, which is what we're trying to achieve, and on the rear we're going to keep them flat. So you can put more depending on how brave you're going to go. I'm going to test fit the 3, see what the tire looks like, and then I might pull it apart and just put maybe a couple more, and I'll keep doing that until I've either reached the limit of the foam and it's kind of really touch and go whether it's going to break or not, or you get your desired effect. All right, let's go and have a look and see what this looks like. The first thing you're going to notice when you're putting your tyres back together is actually how sticky the rubbers are compared to what they were like when you took it off. So be super careful in not kind of ripping the tyres or doing anything like that. All right, so we've got a little bit of a crest showing, not as much as I like, and I still got a little bit more room in there. They weren't too bad to put on, so I think I'm just going to probably do another 3 right through that middle, and that should be there. All right. Okay, so that's 6 times round. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, now I'm kind of going to be happy. This is where I'm going to want to be, so I'm going to trim off all this side excess with a pair of scissors, so that we're not filling the whole tyre, so we've still just got that center pushing the tyre to a crest. All right, so you don't have to worry about being too neat. You're not going to see it, but I basically just trimmed off all the excess off the sides just to keep it from flowing too far around the edges. Right, now I'm going to put it back in the tyre. So as you can see, this is super sticky, and I'm really having to work the tyre off itself to make sure that we get a nice clean fix through the rim. Okay, so I'm not sure you're going to pick this up on the camera, but hopefully you can see the difference. This is the rear, although it's on the front. I've taken the rear off first to put on the front. This is on the front. You can see it's quite flat. This is then the new one going on the front, and you can just see it's got more of a crest to it now. So it's not flat, it's actually pushing up over the top of it. So only a subtle difference, but I tell you now, it will make a huge difference to grip when you're using, well, most tires really. I find that it works in a lot of compounds and a lot of tread patterns, just giving that front tire a little bit more roundness, and that is how I do that. Right, good luck guys. I hope this helps you. I hope that the fancy washing up liquid, don't go cheap, because it just doesn't seem to cut the grime away as well. It doesn't work for all compounds. Different compounds react differently, and like you've seen with those other Endura pins, you know, they come out the bag nice and sticky, and they'll probably be sticky for the first time you run them, and then you wash them, and then, well, then they're the true compound and they're not so sticky. But even this is now just picking up all the dirt, all the dust from my desk, and yeah, nice and happy with that. Not too much of a bowl, but just got a little bit more of a crest on top of that tire, so hopefully that'll really improve. And also got a little bit more weight in there until the brass inserts turn up and I can use those. All right, so this one's all buttoned up, and yeah, still got plenty of squidginess, even though we kind of put a bit of lead in there and some tape. Still plenty of conform going on through the tire. Actually really nice and soft. It's got a bit of kind of pneumatic feel to it, but it's nice. And then yeah, you can just see the tire's just got a little bit more of a crest rather than being concaved and flat. So yeah, there we go. Now all I've got to do is the next one, and the next one after that, and the one after that.
All right, folks, so there you go. A old wives' tale, as we say in the UK, and it really does work. Using premium washing up liquid on your tyres, giving them a good clean, putting them in a nice bubble bath, and leaving them to dry makes them just that bit stickier. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to get all these done and dusted, get the other front one fitted up, and then, yeah, it's ready to go again. I hope this video has helped you out, and, well, I'll catch you on the next one. Keep crawling, and I'll see you next time.